Be in high school. Have no friends. Always sit myself at lunch. One day this guy comes and sits at my table. It's clear from the beginning that there is something wrong with him. He is a little slow. Start talking to him. Eventually we become friends. One day he tells me that he has some type of brain damage due to complications while he was developing in the womb. Still stay friends with him. Start going to his house. Notice his family is very distant from him. He tries to constantly form a relationship by doing nice things for them. They always reject him because of his disability. Coincidentally, my life was a little similar, but because of different reasons. We soon become close as brothers. Comes over and plays video games. A few years later, he admits how depressed he is because he was never able to form a good relationship with his family members. Complains about them all the time. They've pretty much abandoned him at that point. I'm in a similar situation, but nowhere near that extent. My family won't contact me in any way, shape or form unless they need money from me. A few months later. I barely see him anymore. Try calling him, but he never picks up. 2 weeks ago. Find pic relation in my mailbox. Instantly heartbroken. Only real friend I've ever had. Drive to his parents' house. They tell me he committed suicide the night before. Spend the next few days drinking until his funeral. To die. A few kids from high school are there as well as most of his family members. My family also shows up just because of how close me and him were. His family speaks about him and talks about how great of a person he was. Infuriated. Go to the stand. Completely break down before snapping at everyone. Tell them all how horrible they are and how all he ever wanted was to form a good relationship with them. Tell them that I am actually disgusted how any of them even showed up. Read his suicide note out loud to everyone in the audience. Break down again. I'm the only person in the funeral who is showing any form of emotion. Point this out to them all. Ask my own family if they are going to pretend to care about me after I die like his family is doing. Storm out of the funeral. Come home. Get numerous angry calls from everyone who attended the funeral. His mother tells me a real friend wouldn't have done something like that. Explain that I was the only friend he had and I was closer to him than she ever was. Carefully explain how she, along with the rest of her family, abandoned him for so many years because of his disability. Call her a fat bitch and hang up the phone. My own parents call and start yelling at me. Ask them the same question I asked them at the funeral. Tells me that's not even important. Tell them it is, but they just don't realize it yet. Go to the local Home Depot. Buy some rope and come back home. Planning to hang myself in the woods behind my house tonight. Not even going to write a suicide note because I don't feel like giving them any closure. That feel when I know people will pretend to care at my funeral. The only reason I posted this story is because I just wanted to say that he absolutely loved all of you. We both did.
Feels threat. Feels threat. Be me at 19. Go to college and room with best friend. Walking through campus, see Mario Renush room spray painted on sidewalk. He notices first, puts foot on it. Checkpoint. Rage. He explains this will be our checkpoint. If either of us loses a life, we just come back here. Don't correct his incorrect game usage, play along. Be me. 1 year later. Touch mushroom with foot. Checkpoint. Who are you talking to? 8 out of 10 cute girl I didn't notice staring at me. Just waiting for a friend. It's only been a few weeks, but I have really accepted it yet helped me feel be.
I just cannot believe this is it. This is life. There is no magical third act where I am the star in some fantasy adventure. I won't suddenly gain superpowers and fight cartoonish villains. This is it. This is all it will ever be. 50 more years of quiet drab misery. Our one shot at consciousness is spent on something so unimaginably boring. My gift of sentience is spent way just living, consuming media, messing around with hobbies that will never fill the void, eating, shitting, cleaning. And that is all there is.
I don't feel like I am living. Everything seems so exhausting to me. All I can manage to do is passively consume. I tried to study, but I couldn't keep my attention up for more than a few minutes. I even asked myself, what prevents me from studying, and tried to collect all my willpower, but it's physically painful to me. My head starts hurting, I feel tired, and a physical sensation that is like an itch all over my body that is getting stronger. So all I do is sit and browse image boards. I am not even fully in them. I just lurk and shitpost now and then. I do not participate in any generals because I don't play games and don't watch any shows. I actually rarely have to contribute anything to threads. Yet even though there is rarely anything that interests me, I continue lurking. I am like this for 8 years now, and in these 8 years I have not changed at all. It's quite shocking thinking about it. So many people my age and younger are successful and have achieved something, and I am still a blank slate. I feel so alone in this world. No one can know how I feel. Maybe everyone feels like this, but others manage to man up. Maybe I should just endure the pain and get used to it? Whenever I talked about my feelings elsewhere, people insulted me. They called me lazy, a whiner that shifts the blame to anyone but himself, a loser that didn't use the opportunities life gave him, and that deserves the misery he is living in. I don't know if their people are right or not. Society judges people by what they see. Even if I somehow manage to get out of this hole and achieve something, I will pale in comparison to the motivated people that didn't waste years of their life. People that are more intelligent and more hard-working than me. I am superfluous. There is nothing good I can do better than anyone else of the billion people on Earth. Other people just seem like superhuman to me. They know exactly what to do. They have goals. Even if they too complain about procrastinating, they still manage to get things done. When I see just what some people achieve in the news, I don't even feel like I am of the same species. And not just the news, just regular people. People that manage to graduate from college with good grades while working and living by themselves. People that have a job and live alone and drive a car. People that are independent. People that have skills. I had the naive hope that this would all come to me eventually, but it never did. I am still the same I was years ago. Adults still feel as alien to me. I think I've read all useful advice there is. Now it's up to me. But if I haven't done anything in all these years, why should I now? I don't even trust myself to do anything anymore. Let me guess, Anon, parents were late 30s, early 40s when they got you. You're a single child or have a much older sibling you can't relate to. Your father was always working or otherwise absent, and your mother was ridiculously overprotective. You never showed initiative as a child. But that was just fine with your parents, who loved to keep you where they could supervise you. You always got exactly what you wanted for Christmas/birthdays. You grew up and perhaps still live in some kind of suburb/subdivision where you're maximally sheltered from any kind of real life experience. Your story is that of the 21st century digital boy. I'm one myself. I have no idea how to break out of it. In previous generations, guys like us were probably either made by or killed in war. Now we're just here, existing, not knowing why, not knowing what to do. Too lazy to live, too scared to die, too incompetent to do anything else.
My grandpa suffered from Alzheimer's in his later years. It never really affected me since it seemed like the funny kind of Alzheimer's. A lot of "oh, grandpa" moments, like when he can't remember how to tie his shoes or how to use the microwave. After a while, though, it started getting worse. He couldn't recognize my voice over the phone, for example. But there was one moment that made me realize how far gone my grandfather was. He picked up a framed picture of him and my grandmother, who had passed away 4 years prior. He stared at it blankly and I lightheartedly asked, "You like that picture, eh, Grandpa?" He paused before replying. "Anon, who are these people?" I froze. My grandfather couldn't remember what his wife of 54 years looked like. He couldn't remember what he looked like. I said, "Grandpa, that's you and Grandma. Don't you remember?" Again, he paused. And then he began to cry and said, choking on his tears, "No, Anon, no, I don't. I don't remember. I can't remember. Why can't I remember? It's the Alzheimer's, Grandpa. You're losing your memories, eh, Alzheimer's, I don't care. I lived a life, I worked hard, I existed. I should know it, shouldn't I?" There was a long pause before he muttered. "Anon, I'm scared." "Of what?" "I don't want to die." We cried for hours.
I had an imaginary friend named Dread when I was 5. We would play in my room whenever mom and dad would fight. So we played a lot. My mom would drink a lot and she didn't really take care of me or my brother. My dad tried to take care of us, but he was always gone at work. One day my mom packed her bag while my dad was at work. She started walking to the front door and said to me and my brother, "I am leaving, tell your dad when he gets home." I knew I couldn't stop her, but to slow her down I said, "Wait, you need to say goodbye to Red first." She looked at me like I was a retard and said, "Grow the fuck up," and left. That was the last thing my mother ever said to me. That was the last day I ever saw Red.
Be me 7th grade. One of the kids I plays box with that is homeschooled is moving to my school. Ask some friends why did he switch to public schools. Apparently his mom homeschooled him and she passed away. He comes to school and I sit with him and lunch and I introduce him to some people. He invites me to his house and we play Halo 3 because that shit just came out. Fun as hell, team doubles. I would call him to come over and if he didn't answer, his voicemail would tell me that it was full and to call back. Chalk it up to bro is too lazy to clear his voicemail. Halo 3 every day. His dad starts working out and getting fit. Starts dating. His dad starts disappearing for weeks at a time and leaving bro home alone. Eventually he ran out of food and had to eat at my house. Still played Halo 3 at his house though. One night I couldn't get a hold of him and I was sick of hearing that the person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that is full. Tell bro to clear it. Ha, I don't remember the password. Dude, it is the last 4 numbers of your phone number. I start typing it in. Wait, Anon, don't. I stop and he grabs the phone and calls his dad. Talks to his dad and asks him if it is okay for him to delete the messages. Dad tells him if he is ready to move on. Bro hands me his phone and tells me to delete them for him. I listen to the messages. Bro, it's your mother, where are you? Are you coming home for dinner? Bro is burying his face in his pillow crying. He quickly grabs the phone and tells me not to delete them. One of the saddest days of my life.
Iraq. Driving through some broke-ass sand village. Kids playing in the road. Lead truck, I tell the VC. He tells me to keep driving. Historically, when kids stop convoys, there's always an ambush in play. They use the kids to stop the lead vehicle, then the adults open up with everything they have. Kill everyone. I shut my eyes, the road is straight. Bump dot bump, bump dot bump bump bumpy bump dot distant screaming. Bump, I've never been the same since.
Be me typical American. Lived with just me and mom, dad not in picture. Shit's not too bad, I really got along with my mom a lot. She taught me a lot things. We cook a lot. I'm pretty bad at feet, but I get pretty decent. One thing she didn't teach me is how she makes her green bean casserole so fucking good. It is my favorite food, and I ask her to make it constantly. She always said yes. But never asked me to help, and being a lazy teen I usually didn't offer to. I regret that. It really was the bomb, and she made it with her own recipe. It was a quiet, yet meaningful relationship I had with my mother. One day I'm called to the office from Jim, age 16. See grandfather, red puffy eyes and principal looking sad, shaking his head and looking at me. I instantly know what this is about. Nonetheless, I collapse to the floor and my grandpa is holding me. The next few weeks are blurry. My mom died from a hit and run driving to work after dropping me off at school. Last words I know I said to her were "see ya in a bit, love you," and she said the same exact thing back to me. Now age 21, attending community college and living by myself. I keep trying to make my mom's green bean casserole. It never quite tastes right. Mom always added something special to it that I'm not sure if I'll ever know. I keep trying. I just want this one thing. To help me connect with her one more time with one of my favorite ways we bonded, which was cooking.
It was the day after I failed to get into the college I wanted, and I was feeling rather bummed out, sitting around in my room. My grandpa picked up on that and decided he would do like he did when I was a kid. Buy me a video game to cheer me up. I was always a Genesis sort of a guy, and he spotted the Sonic Team logo. Unfortunately, my grandpa got me this because he wasn't aware how Sega had declined in quality as of late. I replied with a half-hearted smile, because a part of me was happy that he did it for me, the other side of me, the gamer's side, not so pleased. He knew he made a mistake too, since I wasn't as ecstatic as I was when I was a kid, or perhaps, he thought, as an adult, I was expressing my happiness in a more mature way. Before I got around to lying to make him feel better about purchasing the game, he ended up dying, the third day after giving me the game. It was sudden, shocking me in my sleep when my grandmother found him. Her screams and frantic waking of me still so very fresh in my mind. After the burial, I found this game in my room. Unwrapped and untouched since first getting. I picked it up sympathetically, as if it were a friend I had wronged. With care, I unwrapped it, and a childish smile came over my face. I placed it in my GameCube and played through it all in an ambient light, not suiting the childish nature of the game, but the childish nature of the game, suiting the last gift of my grandfather, and my transition to adulthood. I still have this game, I cherish this more than any other GameCube game.
Every morning I would wake up and make me a PB&J, and when I did, my daughter would wake up and she would want to make her a PB&J as well. But she would always have me cut it into triangles so it would be easier for her to eat. So, this particular morning was no different. I woke up, made me and my little girls a PB&J with a little extra jelly, and cut hers into triangles. When it was time for school, she loaded up into the car with her mother and two brothers, just like any other day. It wasn't her fault, my wife. She was just doing what she was supposed to. That driver was in so much of a rush, he forgot to stop. That driver was in so much of a rush, he T-boned my wife's car at 60 miles per hour. That driver was in so much of a rush, he sent my daughter to the hospital in critical condition. The doctors worked as hard as they could, trying to save this little girl's life who loved PB&J cut into triangles. Just by how the doctor walked out to me, I just knew that we would be burying my daughter. As he told us the news, I just remember going numb. Went numb for a few weeks. My boss let me off work for as long as I needed to help get a grip. One morning, I woke up. Still accustomed and be habitual. I absent-mindedly went to the cabinet, the fridge and gather up what I would need for a PB&J. I wasn't focused on it, still reeling from the death of my baby girl, that when I was finished and looked down without thinking, I had cut it into triangles. I cried.
My phone's at 5%, so I'll be leaving you all shortly. To be honest, the main reason I come to be is for the feels threads. As a chronically depressed person, I always feel alone in the hole that I've dug for myself. But here, I finally feel like I have company. Shitty. Sorrowful company, but company nevertheless. Thank you all for participating. Whether you just lurked or contributed. Good night everyone. May you find temporary relief in your dreams.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe.